Speaking moistly, keep 2 meters apart. Speaking moistly. Hey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our usual Tuesday edition of Speaking Moistly, the first one for 2023. Greg, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Mark. Thank you for asking. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Indeed.
And yeah, what else is new? More crazy news every single day.
This is just a little. So I started getting emails. I don't watch football. I'm not a football guy.
Mhm.
I'm not one of those people who's betting on Monday Night Football or anything like that. But I started getting emails and people were messaging saying, "Holy cow, are you watching what's happening on this?" And I watched that hit. And again, I don't watch football, but it looked like a pretty ABC hit. Like when you get hit by somebody, you kind of grab them and use their momentum to take them down. And then you like roll together and then you get up and then you do it all again. And like football's hard on people. But what I saw yesterday did you see the play?
Yeah, you're talking about Damar Hamlin
Yep.
of the Bills, Buffalo
Yep.
Bills, and
Yep.
I believe he's the safety of the Buffalo Bills, and yeah, there was a kind of a tackle where the running back or whoever had the ball like kind of like ducked his head into his chest, and he kind of like brought him to the ground.
Yep.
And yeah, I've played football before, obviously not at the NFL level.
Close though.
I probably wouldn't be doing this if I was at the NFL level. But
Former and AHLer and all around nice guy.
But yeah, no, it really is quite a weird clip because I remember when I first saw it come up on my feed, it was like, oh, big hit, and guy goes down and he
Yeah,
falls over, and I remember thinking like, where is the big hit part? And then you kind
that's
of
what I
just
thought too.
see the disturbing thing where he gets up and just falls back. Um,
His head kind of
yeah,
wobbles when he
yeah,
stands up. His head kind of does something funny.
yep,
And yeah,
yep,
there was
and
anybody
and
ever do that while you were playing football?
I
Spontaneous
mean,
heart
to be
attacks on the
fair,
field?
there's definitely weird injuries when it comes to
Fair
football.
enough.
Like,
Fair enough.
like everybody's got these plastic hats on. They're running full speed at each other. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens. Even if you kind of just tackle somebody the wrong way, or if you fall down the wrong way, yeah, stuff can go wrong.
You're not wrong.
And to be fair, like, well, this is kind of a disturbing scenario, but it comes to mind, which is soccer. There was
Yes.
a soccer goalie, or maybe it was the striker. Anyway, there was like, if you can imagine, a goalie running out towards the ball and the striker running out towards the ball, and they collided and somebody's knee hit the other person's head. And
Oh,
yeah,
that's
and the
bad. That's like a
person,
car accident, man.
yeah, it's a little, I guess it's like not really, that's a little bit more horrific in terms of like, no equipment on anyone and a knee going to a head. The
Yeah.
person passed away, unfortunately. But
Jeepers creepers. Yeah, that's terrible.
yeah, but this one certainly seems a little bit more kind of random. I heard that well, I mean, I'll as someone kind of collapses on the field, it's like down set hut goes the political football, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, go along, go along, okay,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like
Yeah. For
how are
real.
we going to try to use this this unfortunate event of this player collapsing to to push our rhetoric. And I actually think it's justified, because I've seen people online who are saying, "Oh, people are politicizing what happened. They're politicizing what happened. Like, that's disgusting." And it's like, remember the past 3 years when like every little thing that happened, anytime like a little kid got sick with something weird, it's like, oh, it's because of the COVID.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
every single time.
they wanted people to give their vaccine status for going into a grocery store, and now people are saying, because the rumor is he had a shot on December 26th. I think that was when he got his booster. That's the rumor.
That's the rumor.
I don't know if that's real,
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
fair. And so people are questioning, but the rhetoric on both sides, the people who are saying, see, anti-vaxxers are coming out of the woodwork to say this is
Mm-hmm.
proof of whatever, and it's not, this is a football injury, totally normal. And then on the other side of it, people are saying this is definitely a vaccine injury, blah, 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 blah. And it's not as clear cut as that, it never is. But it's interesting to me to watch all of that rhetoric erupt
Mm-hmm.
around this situation. Obviously it would, I think.
Yep.
But apparently they set up checkpoints going into the hospital where the player is currently, like security checkpoints for even approaching the hospital. I thought that was interesting. I've got that for tomorrow on my show. But wild stuff happening within
Mm-hmm.
the context of this whole thing.
Yeah, and the security checkpoints might not necessarily be a nefarious thing as much as
Maybe
it's
not.
like responding to the big mob of people that are, trying to I don't know, check in on their political football. I don't know, like it could be the effect of the cause, which is a bunch of people who are like trying to check in on them. I
Mhm.
certainly do think that when it comes to this injury, I think like both things are true at the same time. It's like, yeah, okay, there are injuries that may happen like this, some sort of freak accident where the person's helmet hits the person's chest just right and it stops their heart. That is a
Yep.
thing, apparently, that I'm pretty sure actually it was even Peter McCullough, Dr. Peter McCullough, who
Yep.
mentioned
He
that,
said
yeah,
that.
this has
Yep.
happened before.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's like, we are dealing with the heart. We are dealing with kind of clotting issues. And that shouldn't be ignored either in
Mhm.
relation to a certain pharmaceutical product that a lot of people have been taking. And that
Yep.
did you need to take it to play in the NFL?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they didn't mandate it directly, but I
Mm,
looked up a news article talking about how they were using different carrots and sticks to get players vaccinated, and they had
mm,
95% players and 100% of the
mm-hmm.
trainer staff and all that. So it was heavily, heavily pressured. There was a lot of discussion around, you're a good
Yeah.
person if you do this. Very interesting. Like, sorry, go
It's
ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's I think it's nonsense, this whole like, oh, don't politicize this or don't say it was associated with this. And it's like, like, shouldn't you want to know the truth? Shouldn't people want to know, like, what's so wrong about asking questions or like, potentially saying, hey, maybe these dots are connected? Like,
I don't know yeah.
we're supposed to be like
Mhm.
championing science and like the scientific method of questioning things. But I guess I'm just so tired of the pearl clutching. Like there's so much pearl clutching all the time where it's like, oh, how dare you, oh, how dare you do that? And it's like, to be fair, maybe I pearl clutch too, but it's usually when it's like, is this injection we're giving people good or not? Like that's a
Are
pretty
drag queens
important
really a
thing.
good thing
That's
to
a pretty
expose children
important
to?
thing to get upset about,
Mhm.
and all this pearl clutching around like, oh well, that's offensive, or like saying that
Mhm.
is mean. And it's like, we should be able to express, freely express ourselves or freely ask questions about important issues, guys.
We
stop
should, but
stop clutching the pearls.
this leads into Jordan Peterson and what's going on with him, talking about things on social media and consequences for that, and that's
Yeah.
interesting. But I wanted to kind of talk about what you were talking about and the pearl clutching, and I think it's all on purpose. The people who are doing this, somebody commented on my review on Canada Poly. You can go and review my show on CanadaPoly.com. And they said, I used to like commenting on your videos because the discussion it used to be fun. And now it's concern trolls, people who are trying to
in
really
your
demoralize.
in your comment section.
Oh yeah. Oh
Oh,
man, all
cool.
the time. All the time. They're hard to discern from. I'm almost tempted to just turn comments off and put the comments on my website. But it's a situation where the like demoralization is just wild. With how subtle they are. They've gotten better. I don't know if it's bots or people or what, but
Mhm.
it's a different climate than it used to be. And so the pearl clutching in order, well, we were our last story today too, talking about um, well, the pearl clutching is done to change people's hearts and minds. Like, oh no, we can't possibly do this, and then people start thinking about it in that context.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Anyway, let's get into Peterson. And do you want to explain what's going on with him? There's tweets just before breaking news before speaking moistly.
So I'll try to do my best. So Peterson essentially got a message from the College of Psychologists of Ontario. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And there's a lot of these different colleges. Like there's a college of like nurses of Ontario. There's a college of family physicians in Ontario, and they all kind of act as sort of this authority that like has your license and dangles your license. Like, hey, are you sure you want to keep your license, your psychology license, or like your doctor's license, or like your nurse's certificate? And, there's a lot of good reasons for this. Make sure that you're up to date on whatever it might be in terms of the changing landscape, being a psychologist or a doctor or a nurse. But with COVID, it's kind of been very interesting because all the COVID regulations have been bearing down on these different people. And to give you kind of a personal example, I know a friend of a friend is a doctor of mine, and sometimes I get to chat with him, and he talks about how it's like, I can't even tell people to advise them to not take the injection. I can't even actually tell them that, or else they might rat on me, and that would get me in a lot of trouble with the College of Family Physicians. So when it comes to Jordan Peterson, he was just tweeting out about how the College of Psychologists in Ontario is essentially saying something to do, not to do with COVID, not to do with any of this, but you have to do social media training, or you have to like check how you're using social media, which I got to say, just off the bat, he has a massive following. To group him in there with the rest of psychologists as part of the College of Psychologists of Ontario. It's like, are you guys kidding me? Can you not separate his practice as a psychologist from his social media kind of superstardom as like a speaker and thinker of the 21st century? Like it's so silly to try and say like, yeah, we're gonna have a say on your massive popularity. We're the College of Psychologists in Ontario. Like, give me a break.
What they're gonna do is they're going to double down on their power, because they have power over this. They don't have power over him, but they have power over this, right?
Sure.
And they're going to take this away from him, because this is not a country that cares. This is this group of College of Psychologists and the CPSO, the people overseeing the doctors and stuff. They don't care. They're ideologically driven now. This is not a place that values somebody who is contributing positive thoughts to the world and society. They're people who value getting in line, being quiet, doing as you're told, because doing as you're told is what's right and proper. But they demand, I've got the tweet up here. It says, we've demanded that this is Jordan Peterson's tweet. The Ontario College of Psychologists has demanded that I submit myself to mandatory social media communication retraining with their experts for, among other crimes, retweeting Pierre Poilievre, criticizing Justin Trudeau and his political allies. He says, I've been accused of harming people, although none of the complainants involved in the current action were clients of mine, past or present, or even
pathetic, man. It's so,
oh yeah.
So pathetic. And there's so many things too. I love the harming people part, because it's like, you guys are psychologists. Do you really want to advocate the idea that words hurt people? Like, aren't you supposed to be helping clients to say, hey, just because your dad said this when you were a kid, or your mom said this when you were a kid, or just because someone you love hurt your feelings, that, that hurt isn't real, or like you need to overcome that hurt through whatever, self-reflection, blah, blah, blah. And like the fact that they're like, actually, no, that's real harm. You're causing harm with your tweets. They're like essentially promoting the whole trauma economy, or the whole trauma culture.
But that is it. That's exactly
culture that's going on.
Yeah. And that's exactly what's going on. And it's very, very concerning, really, when you think about how promoting that kind of victimhood mentality is seen as positive, is seen as
and as a group of psychologists, it's a laugh. It's ironic. It's like, this is like satire that none of us could have written, because it's just like too ingenious and like silly to ever. That would never happen.
You wouldn't believe it. Yeah, you wouldn't believe it. No,
that would never
nobody
happen.
would behave that way. It's like when I watched Michael Scott in The Office drive his car into the lake, and I thought nobody would be that dumb.
Right. But
I feel like I'm wrong.
This is a very concerning thing that's happening here, and it kind of reflects the stuff that we always kind of, us conspiracy theorists, that we always like worry about, where it's like, oh my God, this whole COVID stuff, these restrictions, like this is a really scary precedent where these different organizations of authority are going to mess with you for having the wrong opinion on COVID. What happens when you have the wrong opinion on something else? And then where do you know? It's happening right now. It's right now. It's happening right now. And I wish I knew more about Bill 36 in BC, because I think this is directly related to that in a way. Have you heard of 36? I know 36 in BC, where it's essentially like you can't be a healthcare worker or something if you have like the wrong opinion. I've heard it's something like this.
If you speak out against the vaccine, then you could lose your job, all sorts of things like that. If you speak out about anything that the governing body doesn't like, they can just get rid of you.
And that can be and that can be like a moving target of what we don't like, right? It's like,
Yes. Oh,
hey,
very. There's no definitions for
you
anything.
retweeted Jordan Peterson. You know, you're gonna lose your job.
Yep.
This country, man, this country has
It's
lost
wild.
it.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
lost it, dude.
It is incredible what's going on. So do you want to tell everybody what happened? You, a few months ago, what was it? A few months ago, you did that survey, the hate survey. Do you agree with
Oh,
hate?
okay. Well, maybe let's open up with the actual article itself,
Do you
just to
want to
kind of
talk about the article?
contextualize it for people. Yeah,
Okay,
because the
so
headline gives it a good sort of like summary of what's going on here.
okay, the headline is Trudeau liberals are filtering out dissent to their anti-hate agenda. So if you don't like the anti-hate agenda, what the liberals did, and documents confirm this, it's a National Post article if you're interested in seeing it, basically is if you had an opinion that you didn't think that the liberals needed to do anti-hate legislation, then you were pretty much excluded from the survey. And they did this
Yeah.
through a honeypot question at the beginning of the survey that said, do you think the liberals should do this kind of legislation? And if you said no, they're like, great, thanks for your opinion. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah. So yeah, me and Mark were talking before we put the cameras on, and I'm like, oh yeah, I did this survey a little while back, and it sounds like it's actually the survey that they're talking about. And I'll post it. I'll try to post this video on my channel this week. But essentially, yeah, I screen recorded myself while I was filling it out. And the first question is something like that. It's like, do you think that the government should be involved in, like, stopping hate online? Or it's like stopping hate, some sort of generic thing. Like, do you think the government should be controlling hate, which is a human emotion, by the way? And I'm like, no, I
Here,
don't think
Polyev
they
doesn't
should.
like rage. He doesn't like rage at all.
Yeah. I don't like rage. Yeah, that's a whole nother.
I don't
Or
like
is it
those
is it
flags.
really that different? Maybe it's not that different at all, actually. But yeah, I don't think the government or politicians should be trying to control emotions. That's dumb.
No.
And then I said no. And then it's like, thank you. The survey's like, bye. Thank you for filling out the survey. Bye. And then in the video, you'll see I redid the survey and said, okay, let's say yes for this. And then it gives you an idea of how silly these surveys are. Like, you can really get any answer you want, because if you click yes, then all you're going to be doing is giving the government, 80% of respondents said that they do want something to do with the internet and stopping hate online, because those are the only options. Like, those are the only options that you get, is like, hey, which option of the government, like, controlling this, that, or the other, would you like to see? Would you like them sending money to stop hate? Would you like to see them doing programs online to stop hate? Like, these are the only options you get. So obviously, whatever data set they're going to get is going to be like, wow,
Look at
back up
what they say.
Canadians that want us to control the internet. Like, it's so dishonest how they construct these surveys. Man,
we are being governed by dishonest people. And when you say that, they say you're a conspiracy theorist. But look at what's happened, right? It is incredible what Canadians tolerate and what's happened.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm a conspiracy theorist with a good batting average. Okay, over the past 3 years, I have a sick batting average. So yes, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but look at my batting average. Okay, it's over 300. So
300.
Thank you
That's
very
good,
much.
Right? Is that good?
Yeah. If you're a baseball guy, I'm pretty sure batting over 300 is a great average. That means you hit the ball like 1 in 3 times.
Fair
I
enough.
think.
So where do you think the Peterson CPSO, or the psychologist body, where do you think that's ending? Do you think that Peterson has more clout, or if they strip him of that,
dude,
it's
and this is an important point. It's the same thing as we've already seen. If people don't stand up, not through like, emailing Parliament necessarily, but if they don't stand up in some significant way in numbers, then they're just going to keep doing this. They're just going to keep doing this.
Brazil.
What happened in Brazil?
Lula just got. So Brazil, Bolsonaro lost the election, but he won the election.
Right.
Brazil said Bolsonaro won and Lula didn't win. There's a very clear clause in the Brazilian constitution that enables the military to take hold if there's cheating in an election. And Bolsonaro, I guess, pursued that. but the point is, there was a lot of people, many more people in Brazil than you can get in a Freedom Convoy 2.0, I think, right now in Canada. And that didn't move anything. Lula won anyway, right? Like the WEF guy is Lula, and he won because he set that wheel in motion, and it rolled through everybody. So like, I'm not trying to say, it's no use in fighting, but I'm saying we need to be aware of battles won and lost and adjust our strategy accordingly, because it seems like our strategy is like, we're going to do this losing strategy again and again and again. No?
I mean, I've told you this before in the show. We don't know what winning looks like, right? And like you see a bunch of people in Brazil getting stomped out like at gunpoint and saying, no, this is a coup, basically, and shut the hell up. We don't care if you think that he won, because we're going to take control of the country. You see a bunch of people standing up and saying, no, like the powers that be are going to take over. I see a bunch of people who are like irreversibly red pilled. Like that energy is going to go somewhere. That energy is just not going to be like swept under the rug and like disappear. Sure, it's going to be messy, but it's like this. We don't know what winning looks like, and like I said, like for the January 6th thing, it's like you win, you get called a terrorist. So, yeah.
See, right. And so like that's one of the things I think of Kanye West. And I mean, Kanye West is articulating things that have long been suspect on 4chan boards, right? And 4 a.m. late night, whatever. Donald Trump, look what happened to him, right? He was a respected, very popular TV star, and then he decided to run for president, and now his name is mud. Who else? Byron Bridle. He said, hey, that the spike protein doesn't stay in the people's arms, and he's like, I would know. I'm a virologist, and look, I got this information from Japan, and this is what it says, and it goes all over your body. And then he was destroyed for it, right? Look at Jeremy McKenzie, right? Like there are people who, if you stand up and you fight and you look like you're going to be really, really impactful in that fight, they do something about it, right? And we're not adjusting our strategy. And it's frustrating because it seems like you say we don't know what winning looks like. And I say winning probably doesn't look like speech laws being enacted worldwide, but that's what's happening. But I mean, I hope I'm wrong. Like, I hope you're right and I'm wrong. And I hope that, like, and I'm being genuine. Like, I'm not trying to be like facetious or anything, because I just would rather that I'm misinterpreting this, and you're right. But
the reason why, but like, why did these people have to get canceled?
Why did which people have to get canceled?
Like Jeremy McKenzie, like
Kanye West and Trump.
Yeah, like all these other people.
Why did they have to get canceled?
It's because their strategy was working.
Yeah, but it's not now.
Yeah, but it's still pushed things forward. It's pushed things in a certain direction. Because like, what's the opposite of that? These people don't say anything, and then it's even easier for the powers that be to impose a social credit system.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
So
I think that probably with Trump, I mean, he took his shot and maybe he lost, and he's just trying to live his life. Like, it is what it is, right? Like,
yeah, but would you prefer Trump didn't even run?
No, I'm not saying
there
that.
was no MAGA movement.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that it seems
like you're looking at
the movement. No, hold on. It seems weak of a counter movement to look at failures in other places and discount that as something to consider in their own strategy going forward. That's all. I think that because I like people who are putting forward a different, like a counter perspective to what's going on with the liberal government and all of that other stuff. But that message is not gaining critical mass. And so how can you do that?
Right. But like, these are two completely different problems. Cause like when we have like a whole bunch of people in the streets of Brazil,
but it's the same problem though.
Dude, you think that there's going to be millions of people in the streets of Canada? No. Like to the extent that it was in Brazil? Like we have way more obstacles before we even get there. Like there's so much apathy here.
No, but that's what I was saying. Look at Brazil, and they didn't get a different outcome. They lost even with all those millions of people. But the people in Canada, their mentality is such that they'd vote for this again. They'd allow, and I mean, like, same in the United States, same in the United Kingdom. Look at look at their current prime minister as well. Like the West is apathetic to the degree of we're allowing our captors to continue looting the apartment. They're like, just lock the door on your way out. Like,
I
what I
guess I
mean?
don't. I know what you mean, but it sounds like just give up. Like
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that our tactics don't seem to be working very effectively. They're not very impactful because the general population is being insulated so well from whatever we're doing that they're not seeing what's happening and they're not responding, or they're not responding to it. They're seeing it, maybe they're seeing it. I don't know, but they're not responding to it when they really should be. How boiled are these frogs? Right? Sorry, I don't know if
Well,
I'm not being
I'm
clear.
no, I guess that's kind of obvious. Like obviously, like the annoying thing in Canada is like anyone who is not a globalist does not seem to have any strategy of how to improve the situation.
No, right. That's what I'm so frustrated. That's what I mean. That
Right.
gets to the crux of it. But I mean, it's worldwide too, right? Like people look at like people in England with Sunak and like they're implementing in England a 15-minute um neighborhood, right? 15-minute cities. And it's like the worst, most dystopian thing you could possibly imagine. But this is what we're heading into. And they're implementing it and people there don't like it generally. But nobody's going to do anything. That's what I mean. We're sleepwalking and they're doing it so slowly by such small increments. It feels big right now to us, but
Yeah, but you
they're
just sound
doing this.
like a doomsayer or something. Like it's just a matter
But our
of time
strategy,
before it's all over,
no,
folks.
no, I'm
Like it's
saying we have to
all
adjust our
happening.
strategy. Otherwise it is because they're adjusting their strategy to counter the effective strategy that any effective strategy that we make, right? That's the
Yeah,
problem.
but you bring up the Brazil example like it's a bad thing. And obviously it's bad news, but it's again, it's like what's your answer to the question of like where are all these protesters going to go? All these people that took to the streets. Do you think they're just going to go away? You know, you
Well,
think they're just
the government
like,
has
oh well,
the
I guess Lula won and I'm not gonna, it's over now.
well,
Like that. We don't know what winning looks like because it's not a typical time. It's not a typical time in history. And,
fair enough.
we got onto this topic because of Jordan Peterson being persecuted for his political beliefs by a entity for the, College of Psychologists in Ontario. And my point is that if more people don't speak up against these authoritative bodies, then it's just a matter of time before, well, we've already seen it happening with COVID, but it's just going to be happening more and more in various different ways.
I
And
just wish we had a better way of speaking up. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I wish
I
that
think that
because
I
they're gonna
see.
try
I
and
think that's
Kanye West Jordan
I
Peterson.
think you're excusing yourself. Well, not yourself because you already do speak up and do a lot. But
I was gonna say, dude.
yeah. But it's like you're kind of saying you're promoting this almost mentality of
I'm
like
not. I'm
there's no
saying
point.
no. Right. But I am saying there's a cost. I've talked about this before. There's a cost to doing what I do. There's a cost for
Of
Peterson too.
course, of
If you
course.
speak up, they're going to come for you, and people are uncomfortable with that. And what I'm saying is the strategy's crap, and until a critical mass is hit and people realize they need to speak up, we're not going to see much change. And like, I hope I'm
I
wrong, but
part of the problem I think in Canada is that we're not ignorant enough. And I mean that as in like you're thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. And then it's like, now I'm not going to say anything because I've thought about it. I've thought about the consequences. I've thought about this. I've thought about this. And now no one's acting. No one's doing anything. And I feel like a lot of Canadians do that. They do this thing because they are rather intelligent and they think about it. They think about it. I don't want to do that. We need to get a little bit ignorant, I think, in this country. We need to get a little bit like ignorant and belligerent and like, yeah, like we need to like get in touch with our
we tried that,
hearts.
and then they were like, "There's emergencies. There's emergencies. People are hiking."
Dude, again, look at the consequences of what happened. The mask mandates went away across the province.
You're right.
The many mandates are
They
gone
scrapped the
now.
passport in Ontario. You're not wrong.
Yeah,
It was a very
yeah.
impactful protest. I'm
And
not. I'm not saying it
and
wasn't.
as much as the Canadians say it was lame, it's like, yeah, we
Who
don't
says
have
it's lame?
arrived. There's a lot of
Who says it's
Canadians.
lame? Hold me
There's a
back.
lot of there's a lot of Canadians who think the convoy is lame because they believe what the CBC tells them, dude.
See, I think that's propaganda. All right, I have to go. We should have started
I
talking earlier.
wish.
I have to go.
I wish that was the
I
case.
really I want to believe that it's propaganda that Canadians are disappointed in
They're
or
not
upset with the.
they're not as nearly as many as the media will say there is, but there are people who are like fully indoctrinated. Yeah, it's brutal.
I hate watching Brittle Star. I can't stand. I like. It's ridiculous. You know who
Yeah.
Brittle Star is? Ridiculous.
Unfortunately, yeah. Let's not talk about
Unfortunately,
them.
you're right. All right, I have to go. So sorry about cutting the things short.
Sorry.
Where can they find you, sir?
Find me on YouTube. Search my name, Greg Wycliffe. I'm on Instagram, Greg Wycliffe. I have a TikTok account, Greg Wycliffe. I'm on Twitter, GDub. Thanks for having me, Mark.
Always, man. It's nice to see you. You can't find me anywhere. You can go to my website if you want to, and it would be appreciated if you went and gave a review to the show, CanadaPoly.com, and you can find me in other places, I guess, but it's very difficult. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.